All right, Saagar, what's on your radar?
Well, it's been a while since I turned my eye towards Senator Elizabeth Warren. Early viewers of the show know it was something of a pastime for me when she was at the height of her campaign a few months ago. I've mostly ignored her because she was failing and irrelevant, but her admittedly good debate performance has breathed seemingly new life into her campaign, simultaneously exposed the hypocrisy which caused her demise in the first place. Yesterday, Warren did a complete about-face before the press, telling them she would now accept Super PAC support. Let's take a listen.
Do you want the Super PAC supporting you to stand down?
So look, the first day I got in this race over a year ago, I said, I hope every presidential candidate who comes in will agree, no Super PACs for any of us. I renewed that call dozens of times, and I couldn't get a single Democrat to go along with me. Finally, we reached the point a few weeks ago where all of the men who were still in this race and on the debate stage all had either Super PACs or they were multi-billionaires and could just, rummage around in their sock drawers and find enough money to be able to fund a campaign. And the only people who didn't have them were the two women. And at that point, there are some women around the country who said, that's just not right. So here's where I stand. If all the candidates want to get rid of Super PACs, count me in. I'll lead the charge. But that's how it has to be. It can't be the case that a bunch of people keep them and only one or two don't.
Let's get this straight. Elizabeth Warren says now she's reversing her position on taking Super PAC support by playing the woman card. It is so utterly predictable that she would try and snooker the press into covering up for her obvious flip-flop by playing the gender card, hoping nobody would notice that literally 8 days ago, she sent this email to all of her supporters saying, quote, unlike everyone else in this race, she isn't accepting any help from outside Super PACs. 8 days, it's all it took for Warren to do an about-face. It would honestly look better if she told everybody the truth, that she failed miserably in Iowa and New Hampshire, she needs a Super PAC shot in the arm in order to place anywhere near the top 3 in Nevada, and she needs to sustain enough small dollar donations to keep her in this thing until the convention, so in the event of a broker convention, she might become the consensus nominee. In other words, it's a cynical ploy, yet again, to use her gender and her identity to obfuscate a hypocritical policy decision. It's no surprise from a candidate who possibly lied about being fired for pregnancy for political expediency, and of course, lied about her heritage in order to advance the career that led her to the United States Senate in the first place. If you want more evidence of her authenticity, check out her thoughts on the 2016 presidential election a few months ago.
In 2016, nearly 3 million more people voted for Hillary Clinton than for Donald Trump. But Trump took the presidency. That is not exactly the sign of a healthy democracy. Democracy hangs on the idea that whoever gets the most votes wins.
That idea seemed to go out the window during the Democratic debate when she was asked if whomever got the most delegates going into the convention should be the eventual nominee.
We are less than 2 weeks away from a national primary. And I want to ask all of you this simple question. There's a very good chance none of you are going to have enough delegates to the Democratic National Convention to clinch this nomination. Okay? If that happens, I want all of your opinions on this. Should the person with the most delegates at the end of this primary season be the nominee, even if they are short of a majority? Senator Sanders, I'm going to let you go last here because I know your view on this. So instead, I will start with you, Mayor Bloomberg.
Whatever the rules of the Democratic Party are, they should be followed. And if they have a process, which I believe they do,
I'm trying to do
so
this,
that
yes or no,
everybody else, everybody can.
So you want the convention to work its will?
Yes.
Senator Warren.
But a convention working its will means that people have the delegates that are pledged to them, and they keep those delegates until you come to the convention. All of the people.
Those principles just go right out the window whenever power is involved, huh? I could go on and on. Documented so much of her obvious hypocrisy from months ago, from taking big money to swearing it off, accepting the case of maybe doing DNC fundraisers, being kind of sort of maybe for Medicare for all, and how she's going to pay for it. So much more. The only thing that has remained consistent throughout her campaign is pledging to wear a pink scarf on Inauguration Day and repeat whatever woke shibboleths that she's required to please upper middle class white liberals. You think about how actually insulting it is to women who do face real gender discrimination in their workplace to look at a flailing candidate use their gender as a shield to cover up desperate tactics. Unfortunately, It's nothing new for the course of the campaign. And hopefully, this is the last time that I'm going to have to do this on the show because I'm frankly very sick of talking about it. And that's the thing, Crystal. I mean, it was one of the most obvious ploys publicly that she could have done. I'm reversing position on Super PAC. Why? Because of your gender. No. Because your financial disclosure came out, and it turns out that you've been spending $2 for every $1 that you've taken in. Your campaign is on complete life support. You had to take out a $2 million line of credit just to make it. You haven't ran a single ad in Super Tuesday because you have no cash. That's why you want the Super PAC support. And by the way, it turns out that this Super PAC was specifically made so that they don't have to disclose, whatever their financial disclosures or whatever, will not come out with reporting deadlines until after Super Tuesday. It's really weird how that works, right? I mean, look, again, if you're going to say, I don't want a Super PAC support, and then you're going to turn around and play the woman card whenever you desperately need it, why should we believe you on anything that you say?
Your anti-corruption candidate, ladies and gentlemen. Well, she's just a player in the game, Saagar. Remember
That's right.
that?
That's
I mean,
right.
You are so right.
Yeah.
It's so offensive to people who face real gender discrimination, real sexism, which is a real thing, when you just use this completely bogus excuse to cover for your own craven political decision making. It is deeply, deeply offensive. But yeah, this isn't the first time, is it? I mean, when she swore off at the beginning of the campaign to much fanfare and much positive media coverage, doing big dollar fundraisers or call time, instead she's just going to do her selfie lines, etc. Buried in those details and barely reported at the time was the fact that, she transferred money over from her millions of dollars over from her Senate account that had been raised in that way. Oh, and also, by the way, and it was Cenk and the Young Turks over there who got this answer out of her, she fully plans on going back to the old way of doing things as soon as she secures the nomination.
Right.
So even from the jump, this anti-corruption candidate's definition of, how far she was willing to go on these anti-corruption measures was only ever an inch deep, and now this is just completely revealed.
She's always kept the door open for whatever she needs for political expediency while trying to run at the same time as an ideologue, and it just doesn't work. It's like, no, your own actions belie what you belie what you're saying, and that's part of the problem that she has. And again and again and again, what really drives me crazy is that the media lets her get away with that. Is that nobody in that gaggle is willing to be like, whoa, wait a second. You're saying this because of your gender and not because you're cash-strapped? Why is that so difficult for the American press? It's because they all want to be like, women, strong arm, emoji. And like I said, it's actually deeply insulting to any woman out there who has faced real discrimination in their workplace to see somebody cravenly use this card in order to cover up their obvious hypocrisy.
You know what? It's fine that the media doesn't press her on it because it's so obvious.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing.
Hopefully everybody knows.
Even putting how offensive it is and the morality of it aside, just on the politics of it, why do you think this is going to work? You played the gender card so hard in trying to smear Bernie Sanders as a secret sexist, alleging that he said a woman can't win, which is just like complete BS. CNN wholly and completely takes your side and joins in the thrashing of Bernie on this. And what did it do? It basically destroyed your campaign. So why do you think that it's going to work this time around? It's not.
She has terrible
political so transparent.
Instincts. I saw her out there yesterday.
She does, and she surrounded herself with a bunch of standard issue DC operative Hillary people. So that's what you get.
I saw her yesterday being like, "What about Bernie's health records?" And I was like, "Really? Like you?" I mean, it's one of those things
buying into the Bernie Bros thing.
Yeah, the Bernie.
Saying you should criminalize misinformation online.
It's insane. The whole we should be held accountable. Okay, I demand an apology for one of her supporters who said that I'm only anti-Elizabeth Warren because of my patriarchal Indian heritage. That's actually racist.
Look, she's responsible for her supporters, according to her.
That's what I mean. And look, I don't care, whatever. But that's what I mean. Why is that so difficult for everybody to just have?
Nobody actually wants to be. I mean, you have to be insane to want to be held to that standard. There are hundreds of millions of people in this country, and you think you're going to control them, control their thoughts, control their behavior? It's absolutely ludicrous. Not to mention sometimes what they call toxic or mean mean or bullying or whatever is literally just saying like, oh, by the way, here's the you know the coalition. Remember the volunteer calls group that was supposedly so offensive because they just accurately pointed out that her base is pretty white and pretty affluent and educated, which is just a fact. Those are the things that apparently constitute as harassment and bullying when they are aimed at anyone other than Bernie Sanders.
There you go.
Next up on Rising, the Hill's editor-in-chief, Bob Cusack, is going to join us for the debrief. That is next.